Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Creative Duelist here, representing Team FDK, making decks creative since 2016. Welcome, folks. Today I'm here with my Infernoid deck profile. Now, before I get into the meat and potatoes of this deck profile, I'd like to make a few announcements. We are sponsored by Inked Gaming, so if you folks would like to purchase anything from Inked Gaming, use our promo code TeamFDK10 to get 10% off anything you shall purchase through Inked Gaming. We also have PayPal if you folks would like to support us on a personal level, completely optional and up to you. All of it goes to the channel, none of it goes back into our pockets. Also, we have a Facebook group, so if you folks would like to be a part of that, you're more than welcome to join. Links will all be in the description, so please check them out. But anyway, today I'm here with my Infernoid Lair of Darkness build. It's not heavily Lair of Darkness, but I do play a Lair of Darkness engine in here to support the theme of Infernoids. But I'm going to go ahead and go over my card choices and all that good stuff. So let's begin. So starting off with the monster lineup, I've got triple Infernoid Decatron. Pretty standard. When he's normal summon or special summon, you get to dump a Infernoid monster and he becomes the name, and I believe he gets the name, the effect, and treats himself as that monster, I believe. But pretty much that's what he does. Decatron, very good, especially with Void Feast, because if you activate Void Feast and you bring two of them out and you send off the Deviati and the Anunku, you basically get to negate a monster effect and a spell and trap, which is pretty nice. Now onto the boss monsters. Double Infernoid Anunku. When he's special summoned, you get to nuke all monsters on the field, so it's a dark hole. And if your opponent activates a spell or a trap, you get to tribute a monster you control, negate, and if you do, banish it. Some of the Infernoid monsters pretty much have the summoning requirements of banishing Infernoid monsters depending on their level. Some have exceptions, like Decatron, you don't need to banish anything. So like the baby Infernoids require like one Infernoid monster to get banished off. The higher level ones, so like level 6, 7s and 8s require 2, and the big boys like this one, like level 10, level 9 and 10, they require 3 banishes of Infernoid monsters from hand or grave to summon themselves. That's pretty much it for Anunku. Then we got double Deviati. Also one more restriction as well. Infernoids, you can't summon any more Infernoid monsters if your field exceeds the level of 8. So you've got to really choreograph how many monsters you're going to summon, because you can't go over the limit of the level of monsters on the field. So if you have like a monster that's level 10, you can't summon any Infernoid monsters because you've gone over the level. So you got to really think about your plays. But anyway, double Deviati, literally a heavy storm when it hits the field. And also, if your opponent activates a monster effect, you contribute a monster, negate, and banish that monster, which is pretty strong. Double Atondal. Atondal is pretty good. Or Atondal, I should say. Atondal, pretty nice. Basically, if it destroys a monster by battle, you can attack again. And also has a nice effect where you can tribute a monster and banish a card in your opponent's graveyard. Really good for annoying your opponent, especially when they need graveyard strategies. So if your opponent activates like Call the Haunted or Monster Reborn, you can just chain Atondal's effect, tribute himself or another monster you control, and banish the target, so it makes your opponent's cards fizzle. It's also extremely dirty, especially if you have Lair of Darkness, because obviously Lair of Darkness treats everything as dark and lets you tribute your opponent's monsters, so you can just make your opponent go neg, which is pretty nice. Then double Cytimus, pretty nice. At the end of the battle phase, if he attacks, you get to banish a card in the field, which is pretty nice. I like his effect because it doesn't target, so it can get over things that protect themselves from targeting. Double Petrulia. Petrulia pretty much blows up back row, so you can target a spell and trap on the field and destroy it, which is pretty nice, but he can't attack the turn you activate that effect, which doesn't matter because you can just link him off. Double Harmadic, same thing, except you get to blow up a monster your opponent controls. Double Entre. Entre is really good. Entre is like a compulse, so you can bounce back a face-up. You can bounce back, I believe it's, yeah, face-up card your opponent controls, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, we got the one, I think it's Sigeti. His effect is okay, but it doesn't really come up. We only have him for the Void Feast target, so he's not that prevalent. And then one Primus to bounce back set cards back into the deck. That's going to round up the Infernoid lineup. For the mini, like Lair of Darkness engine, I play one Darkest Diablos and double Arima. I play double Arima because it's literally a terraforming, so it helps us search for the Lair of Darkness, or you can just use him to tribute himself and draw a card, and of course, or tribute a monster if you got Lair, and of course it triggers off Diablos. And that's going to round up the whole monster lineup in terms of that. I am playing a spicy tech as well, which is Cupid Volley. Just testing it out at 1 to see how it goes. But basically, you can choose a number of cards from 1 to 10, and then you send that many cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, and Cupid Volley increases her level depending on how many cards you send, and until the end of the turn. And if this card you control is destroyed by opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you gain 1,500 life points, which is pretty nice. I like the effect where you can send excavate cards, so again it helps you get more Infernoids in grave. And of course we don't have really that many normal summons except for Decatron, Cupid, and the Arima. But usually I send Arima to search for my Lair of Darkness, so Arima's flexible. So that's going to round up the whole main monster lineup, folks. Okay, onto spells. Got the triple Lair of Darkness, pretty standard. So disgusting card in the deck, because I get to tribute my opponent's stuff. Triple Void Imagination allows you to bring out Tierra. It's like a Shadow Fusion as well. So if your opponent controls an extra deck monster, you can send 6 more, or up to 6 Infernoid monsters from the deck to the graveyard, which is pretty nice. And of course, what's nice as well is it reduces the levels of Infernoid monsters. I believe it makes them level 1. But the unfortunate thing is that if you do have Imagination face up, all your Infernoid monsters do half the damage instead of full. So that's kind of just a little bit of a drawback, but it's not too bad, because at least we can still do damage. Triple Monster Gate just to plow and send Infernoid monsters and mow through our main deck. Double Void Banishment to help us set up the Void Feast and the Void Imagination. Double Super Poly. 1 Void Seer to protect our Infernoid monsters. 1 1-for-1. 1 Reasoning. 1 Foolish Burial. And 1 Pot of Acquitativeness. I'm still testing this out. I like it because I get to shuffle back any banished Infernoid stuff and I draw a card. So if it's really good, because say if Void Feast, because there are times where Void Feast can just be bricky if we draw our targets. If we banish them and then Pot of Acquitativeness and shuffle them back into the deck, it's not a problem, because then Void Feast becomes live. And then of course, Speak of the Devil, the last traps I play is Triple Void Feast. So that's going to round up the whole main deck, folks. Okay, onto the extra deck. I'm still working on it, but these are my fusion targets, of course, for Super Poly. 1 Infernoid Tierra. This card is so good. So depending on what you send it in sequence. Depending on what was used for its summon, for its fusion summon. So if you sent 3 or more Infernoid monsters, both players send 3 cards from the extra deck to the graveyard. If they sent 5 or 6, you send the top 3 cards from your deck as well. 8 or more, each player returns up to 3 of their banished cards to the graveyard, and 10 or more, each player sends their entire hand to the graveyard, which is so dirty. But that doesn't come up very often. But like, if you open up Tierra like just once, you should have won the game. But you can play a second copy if you like. I've only just got the one. Then we've got triple Elder Entity Nest. Pretty much works with the effect where you get to send 3 cards from your extra deck. So that if you send off 3 of these because of Tierra, you get to pop 3 cards, which is so good. One Wee Witch, because there are times where if we have Lair of Darkness on the field, we can just link them off. Double Doolittle Chimera, very easy to make, and then 1 Dante to round up the whole extra deck, because there are times where we can make Dante with the Harmodix. But yes, folks, that's going to pretty much round up the whole main deck, extra deck, and the whole profile. So thank you all for watching. If you folks enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, comment down below. Feedback is always like to hear. Tell me, folks.